Hello everybody, it's Sarah, and today we're going to talk about the books that I plan on reading in February of 2023. And I already did an oopsie with my TBR a little bit, not with my TBR, with my reading stuff. Because while I was sitting down and putting together this TBR, as always, I have 5 non-fiction books and 1 fiction book. Actually, it's the other way around. It's 5 fiction books, 1 non-fiction book. Well, while I was putting together my TBR, I realized once again that February is Black History Month. It's mainly Black History Month in the USA, but there's also other countries that celebrate Black History Month in February. I believe the UK has Black History Month in October or something. Anyway, my point is it's not international, but in the US and also in Austria we celebrate Black History Month in February. And now I'm not someone when there's whatever history month that I want to only read those types of books in that month. I would rather just, you know, spread those books over the entire year and just generally make an effort to read more books by a certain group rather than, you know, keeping that contained in just one month. However, I do still try to at least somewhat read more books by that group in that month. So for February, I try to at least read 1 book by a Black author that month, and it's gonna stay with that one author because I realized that I read all the books that I currently have on my physical TBR by Black authors in January already. Because like 3 out of the 8 books that I've read so far in January were by Black authors. And yeah, I guess I could have planned it a bit better and had some of those books in February, but that just means that I can put them in like different videos, fantasy by Black authors and so on, videos for February. So positives, I guess. Anyway, so I have only 1 book by a Black author on my TBR this month. Also because, like, I find it very funny because my physical TBR tends to be mostly white authors. And that is not because I buy mostly white authors. I mean, I do still buy over 50% white authors because, like, lots of reasons, mostly also to do with what I have access to, obviously. But the books by non-white authors tend to be the books that I read first. So they tend to not stay on my physical TBR for very long. So my physical TBR tends to be mostly white authors. It's a whole struggle. But anyway, my battery is blinking already, so let's change that battery before we get into my actual TBR. Okay, so as always, starting with my non-fiction, I'm kind of struggling because on the one hand, I started 2 non-fictions in January. I started Silk Roads by Peter Frankopan, and I finally started Orientalism by Edward Said, which was the book that I also wanted to put on my February TBR. I did not start the non-fiction that I had originally put on my January TBR, which is this one, which is, what's the English title, is World Making After Empire, The Rise and Fall of Self-Determination. Now, I had not originally planned to put this on my February TBR because I do not need to be starting a 3rd non-fiction. However, this one is by an Ethiopian American author, so it's by a Black author, so I would at least get a 2nd book by a Black author onto my TBR. So I don't know, I'll still keep this with a question mark. I'll definitely continue reading this for my master's thesis, obviously, which I now finally have time to get started. And as you can see, I already started tabbing this as well. So that's it. That's my 2 choices for non-fiction in February. Before we get into my fiction TBR, there's 2 books that I just want to mention. First of all, there's still the Kushiel Along going on that I'm hosting with Jolene from Jolene Reads, Cleo from Bemused Bookworm, and Michaela from... I'm sorry, I forgot the channel right now. But we're still hosting that read-along that's on my book club Discord. And so in January and February we're reading Crucial Start. We always have 2 months per book. So if you still want to join in, I just wanted to have that mentioned. Obviously I reread this last year or the year before that. I finished my reread of the trilogy last year, so I'm not joining into the read along until the second trilogy actually, which is gonna start in July. But yeah, just wanted to have that mentioned. And the other thing, my book club is of course of Queens, Witches and Valkyries. And that book club is all about reading one adult high fantasy written by a woman or genderqueer person per month. And basically every month I put up a poll of 4 books in the Discord, and the links to the Discord and everything will be down below, of course. I put up a poll of 4 books, and then you get to choose which book you want to buddy read in the next month. And for February I decided to put this book on a TBR because the prequel is coming out quite soon, and I thought there might be some people who needed the motivation to either reread it or reread this book for the first time. And so the book that won for February is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. And yeah, I don't know yet if I'm going to reread it or not, but it's the buddy read for February. So if you're interested in reading that, or if you want people to talk about it, if you feel more motivated to read it, then again, the link is down below. Next I have a reread that I have for February, and that is A Clash of Kings by George R. Martin, which is the second book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I still want to do my Orientalism in fantasy video. I don't know if I'll get to it this year. I didn't really set a timer this time around, but I want to try to get through my reread of A Game of Thrones this year, and so I thought it's better I'm gonna start sooner and not only in July like I did last year. So I have put this on my February TBR. Next I have the book by a Black author that I mentioned, and that is The First Woman by Jennifer Nansumbuga Makumbi. This is a book by a Ugandan author, and I did start it already. I'm like 40 pages into it, so I just have to finish it. I finally have to get into it and finish it. And as far as I know, this is kind of magical realism following this girl who starts questioning who her mother is, and through that is sent on a journey, although I don't know if that's meant like literal or figuratively. But yeah, so I'm very excited to see what this is about. It has won a prize, so should be good. But yeah, we'll see what I think about it. So now I'm wondering if I should first do these 2 books or first do my series TBR, but I think I want to do my series TBR first. So this little cauldron has all the names of the unfinished series on my shelves in it, and every month I pick one series and I then continue on / finish that series in that month. So let's see what one this time, and there's just a hair stuck on the post-it. So I'm gonna continue on with the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir. I started Gideon the Ninth last year, I think in November or October, I don't remember exactly. I gave it like 3 stars. I wasn't like over the moon with it, but I liked it fine enough to continue on with the series. So next is Harrow the Ninth, and I guess I'm gonna read it in February. And I'll see actually if I can get it from my library, so I don't have to pay for it, because I did like my budget for the year and things aren't looking good. So I'm definitely gonna be using the library a lot more. But anyway, the next book I have is this one right here. It's actually a library book. And this is the second book in the Legends of the Condor Heroes by Jin Young, which I believe the second book in English is A Bond Undone. I did get the German copy, first of all, so I could get it from the library, but also because I have heard things that apparently the German translation is better than the English one, because the original novels were published in Chinese, I believe in Mandarin, but you know, in a Chinese language. But yeah, this is, I think it belongs in the genre of wuxia, so martial arts, kind of for Western eyes, a little bit fantastic fiction. And I can hardly remember anything from the first book, but I think there's like a chosen hero or something, and journeys, and there's a lot of mentors and martial arts masters and stuff. And yeah, I enjoyed the first book. I read it in 2021, and now I want to continue on. And also, this is on my r/fantasy bingo board, and I think I already mentioned this in my last TBR. I have to read 3 books off of that bingo board per month for me to finish my TBR. So this is one of the books I want to read for February. And then the last book on my TBR is of course also from my r/fantasy bingo board, and that is Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie. This is a science fiction, and I believe this is about like a starship that has been put into a human body. And that's pretty much all I know about it, and that it's quite floppy. It's also not too long. It's like, yeah, it's under 400 pages. So I should get through this quite quickly. And also, this won the Hugo, the Nebula, and the Arthur C. Clarke awards. So quite a few awards won with this book. So let's see what I think about it. And if you're wondering like, hey Sarah, there's only 2 from your r/fantasy bingo board, it's because I'm currently listening to Good Omens on audiobook. So, you know, I am currently reading that already, so I'm not gonna put it on my TBR. But yeah, that was it. That was it for my February TBR for 2023. Tell me in the comments down below, have you read any of these books? What were your thoughts on them? Also, as always, if you're interested in buddy reading any of the books, tell me in the comments down below. I'm always up for buddy reads. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. And once again, all the links to my social media as well as to the book club are down below, so go and check those out. And I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!